Welcome to FYI. I'm Barry ZeVAN, and I'm very pleased to welcome Erin Livingston to the show today. She is a singer, and I always say the best things in life happen by accident. By accident, I was sitting in the lobby of the St. Paul Hotel here in Minnesota, for those of you not watching in Minnesota, and hearing this wonderful voice and an accompanist who was terrific. And I thought, wow, I think it'd be great to have Erin visit the show and even have a sample of one of her songs on one of her CDs. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
My pleasure. So tell us about yourself. Where did it all begin for you?
Yeah,
I know you were born. We know this part.
Did all begin when I was born?
Yes.
Yes. There were a couple of beginnings. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin originally, and started playing the flute and singing when I was in 3rd grade. And I was very blessed to be, Milwaukee was kind of a different place at that time. I was bused into what was called the inner city, right off of North Avenue. And so I went to a very racially diverse school, which was wonderful, as it really opened my ears up to many, many different sounds and types of music. We had country music and classical playing at home, but sang gospel and show tunes at school. And I was studying classical flute at that time as well. So there was just a lot of music going on. And went to arts-focused grade school, junior high, and high schools. So got quite a broad education musically and theatrically and whatnot.
Do you think the listening to the music at home motivated you to want to become involved in music?
Oh, absolutely. As I say, we primarily listened to country music at home. So I was listening to Dolly Parton, Tammy Wynette, Tanya Tucker, Linda Ronstadt when she was a country chick, and it was my goal in life to be a Barbara Mandrell. When I grew up, I thought she was just the bee's knees. She was fantastic, and I played several instruments, toward that goal, wanting to do that. So yeah, and listened to, of course, like I said, classical music as well, and it was actually my classical flute teacher, Tina Hess at the time, who introduced me to jazz. She smuggled me, I felt I was being smuggled to a jazz club, and I thought for sure we were going to get arrested or something. This couldn't possibly be legal. There were people there who were smoking, and it was dark, and it was, it's a great ambiance and everything, and that was the first time I really heard live jazz. And it blew my mind. I just thought that was the most fantastic, amazing thing. And again, I'd already been exposed to gospel and country and classical and all this, and to hear jazz then on top of that, I thought, oh my goodness, it's incredible.
Of course, it's our American invention.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was blessed to, and still am blessed to know Quincy Jones. Yeah. And Quincy, one of our great jazz musicians and composers even, and just a wonderful, wonderful man.
Yes, an amazing contributor.
Yes. So with all this background, I envy you, first of all, being able to play anything. I played 3 songs on the piano, 2 of them extremely badly, and 1 a little bit badly. But to actually play wind instruments and so forth and so on, that takes a great deal of talent, in my opinion. And was it difficult in the beginning?
Yeah, I remember picking up flute at first and feeling, of course, frustrated and discouraged at times, and having listened to great recordings and thinking, I sound nothing like that. This is never going to work, and this is, is very discouraging. But I had a wonderful, wonderful first music teacher. A lot of people talk about the teachers that influenced them in their lives. Mine was Mrs. Dietrich. In the 3rd grade, she started me singing and playing a flute. And she was a nurturer and very, very much a musical butterfly and very encouraging. She played flute as well. But I learned early on, once you kind of get over those first couple humps of, oh, this is what it can sound like. Oh, look at that. It does sound, I am getting better. I am able to do something now that I wasn't able to do before. You know, those first few experiences were very encouraging and almost addictive for me. I'm one of those music nerds. I love to practice. I love woodshedding. I adore my practice time.
That's wonderful.
Because I really, truly know from my experience that it will pay off. Even if today felt like one of those frustrating days where you just pounded your head against the wall, you didn't make any progress. You did make progress. Progress was made. Just be patient. It will all pay off. And one of these days you'll pick it up and it'll be right there.
That's true. I mean, it sounds trite. It's the old saying, practice makes perfect. And, and of course it does.
No, it really, really does. And you know, practice makes perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. You really need to be committed and mindful in your practice time. You know, really pull out your ears, take your time. You know, listen to what you're doing and listen to what you want to sound like. Listen to others that have maybe the tone or the intonation, you know, that you want, and kind of get that in your ear as you're practicing too. So there are many different techniques for practicing. It isn't just throwing in your half hour or 45 minutes. There's a lot that goes into your practice time.
Yeah, you have a mindset, I would assume. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely.
Julie Andrews had a great saying not too long ago. She said, the difference between an amateur and a professional is a professional always gets it right.
Right.
So, whoa.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, a little bit of
high
pressure.
bar.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah. So how did you get, you must be a Green Bay Packer fan, I would assume, but here in Minnesota, it's all right. What can I say? So how did you get to the Twin Cities?
Yeah. Well, out of high school, I had a tough time. I'm an incest survivor. And had ended up straight out of high school really kind of struggling with anorexia and some struggle with kind of coming through all of that, and so went to inpatient treatment with all of that, and had a 2-3 year recovery process where I was out of music and just recovering and working on life and learning how to live and therapy and all that. And I got a piece of advice from my dad, actually, which kind of broke my heart but kind of spread my wings at the same time. He was very, very sweet and supportive in this way. He said, you need to just leave Milwaukee, go someplace else. You start your own life, be fresh, do something new, and kind of establish yourself. And I knew that Minneapolis was close by, had a really dynamic music scene, even though I had kind of fallen out of the music scene, for my recovery, which was a blessing. It was a good, time. I needed to do that. It was a season. But I came here, still had the hope and the passion and the drive for music, even though it would be quite some time before I pursue that again. So that's kind of what brought me to Minneapolis. Shortly thereafter, I fell in love and got married and started a family, and was really committed to that, and brought out my music for community service projects and church. I did a couple fundraising programs for the youth group and things like that. And it was quite a few years. Actually, it was only about 10 years ago when I started singing out professionally.
So how many years have you been in the Twin Cities then?
So I've been in the Twin Cities for well over 20 years now. So I consider myself a Minnesota girl now,
terrific.
Even though my...
And a Vikings fan.
Absolutely.
Without question.
Without question, for
and
sure.
those in Wisconsin, it's okay. So you did bring, thank goodness, you brought one of your CDs, and can you describe what we're going to hear right now?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite tracks. It's a song called When October Goes, and I recorded it with a dear friend and wonderful musician, John Duvall, here in the Twin Cities. So that's what we have right now.
Okay, let's hear it.
And when October goes, the snow begins to fly above the smoky roofs. I watch the planes go by, the children running home beneath the twilight sky. Oh, for the fun of them when I was one of them, and when for the happy years. I turn my head away to hide the helpless tears. Oh, how I hate to see October go. I should be over it now, I know. It doesn't matter much how old I grow. I hate to see October go.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're taping this in October, so it's very apropos. Very apropos.
Yeah.
So you say you have 3 children. One of them, you said, just recently graduated from Marine Basic.
Marine boot camp, yes, yes.
And what's his specialty going to be, does he know?
I finally have this down. We're not a military family, so I've been learning the culture and the language, and it's taken me quite a while to remember, but he is going to be motor T, so motor transport.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Listen, it's funny. I always throw in a little sidebar here. When I was at the end of my basic training in the Air Force, they had 2 things open, motor pool and meteorology.
Oh.
And I had always wanted to be a bus driver. That's the truth.
Yeah.
And I thought, gee, motor pool, I can drive the base bus, and so forth. And then I had a great interest in astronomy. It paralleled meteorology.
Sure.
So I took meteorology, and that's how I became a weatherman.
Yeah.
But it was, so I envy him.
Oh, sure.
All that motor stuff.
Yeah. Well, he's excited. He's really looking forward to it.
That's terrific.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't take his basic at Paris Island, right?
No, he was in San Diego.
San Diego.
Yeah. So we went out there for his graduation at the end of August. And of course there was, a new degree of culture shock there to be on a military base and all the pomp and circumstance and all that went with it. But it was very exciting and emotional, of course, to wrap my arms around him after 13 long weeks. And
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, you don't look old enough to have a son that old. I was
Thank you.
joking, of course, you got married when you were 3.
Yes, I did. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Actually.
Sure.
So what about the other 2 children?
Yeah, I have a 17-year-old kiddo at home who is just fantastic. He loves theater and singing and just started tap dancing classes, so he's looking forward to pursuing that. He's interested. He's also a great creative. He's a builder and a creator of things. He's on the autism spectrum and has a lot of really wonderful neurodiverse talents and gifts that are just wonderful. So I think he'll be doing a lot of acting and singing, as well as he expressed some interest in prop building and learning how all of that kind of creative end goes in theater as well.
Well,
So I'm excited to encourage him in those pursuits. I think
This would
wonderful.
certainly be the market to do that. 'Cause
Yeah.
for those not familiar with the Twin Cities theater scene and entertainment scene,
Yes.
look how many have come out of here.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And it must be in the water or something. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody thinks of Prince right away, and they should. I got to know him,
Absolutely.
and I knew his mother actually.
Oh, did you?
Before.
Yeah.
And but anyway, just so many people. Once on Channel 11, during the years I was there, they had me interview so many giants who came out of here. Some names would not be familiar to kids today, but Arlene
yeah.
Dahl, terrific MGM actress,
Yeah.
also Eddie Albert
Yeah.
from Green Acres. Fun story about Eddie. He he really was into agriculture, and in his home in Pacific Palisades, the front yard was filled with corn.
Oh,
he
my
was
goodness,
growing
really?
corn, and he said the neighbors hated him for doing it.
I'm sure they did.
Oh yes, it was a farm right along
Oh,
this
that's
nice
funny.
street in Pacific Palisades.
That's funny.
He said he didn't care. He didn't care.
Good for
and
him.
of course James Arness and his brother Peter
Yeah.
Graves, and so many. Tippy Hedren,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
So got to know all those people. I was very lucky.
Yeah, yeah, you
And
are.
from your hometown, I got to have a long-time relationship with Liberace.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
Of course, he was from Milwaukee.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, his
Oh, I
his
love it.
original music, when he started in the business, he called himself Walter Buster Keys.
Oh, okay.
Walter Buster Keys.
Oh, that's great.
He did play that piano like
Oh,
that.
fun. That's
So,
fun.
what do you think there's anything today with today's music? I mean, I'm a geezer, let's face it, and I love the standards, the old standards,
Yeah.
etc. And especially you as a singer. I mean, you identify with all the female singers.
Mm-hmm.
One person with whom I had a relationship to, a good, nice professional relationship, was Rosemary Clooney.
Oh, yeah.
And so, doing the Como show, of course, we had all these great singers come by and so forth and so on. But by the same token, today, I'm hearing on commercials the old standards,
Yeah.
some of them.
Yeah.
One of the restaurant chains now is having I don't know what singer it is, singing the song At Last.
Oh, okay.
And then Dean Martin singing When the Moon Hits Your Eye Like a Big Pizza
Yeah.
Pie.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Amore. Do you think there's a yearning for that, or is this something that actually would appeal, or is starting to appeal, to younger listeners?
Yeah, I think it is. I think there is a resurgence that's coming back. I can't remember the name of the game, but my son plays one of these online games, these computer games, and most, if not all, of the background music they have for this game, and it's a game. You know, there's swords and all this other stuff. It's Billie Holiday music that they're
Wow.
playing in the background, right? Yeah, it's not sound effects. It's not this, rockin', boppin' hard kind of stuff. It's Billie Holiday music that they're playing. So yeah, I think there is a resurgence, and I like that there's a balance between singing the standards in kind of the respectful standard way, appreciating the originality of what was written at that time, because it's good stuff. They're standards for a reason. We don't need to change them. You'll be gilding the lily if you were, so I like that there's some of that. But I also think it's really fun to see some of these groups and artists coming out and taking these standards and putting a more contemporary twist to them, a little more thump and bass, change the musical arrangement around a little bit, and bringing the lyric and the melody to more contemporary audiences, because like I said again, they're standards for a reason. It's good stuff. It's just good stuff.
Really is.
So
I feel very blessed because I was born in 1937, but all the popular songs from the 1940s and 50s really became the strongest standards that we had.
Yeah.
I come from a musical family, actually. My grandfather was first violinist for the Pittsburgh Symphony
Oh,
in
fantastic.
1938, but he was also agent for Milton Berle and George Burns and Gracie Allen.
Oh, okay.
But we had tons of music in our family. Then my shirt-tail uncle wrote the lyrics to Are You Lonesome Tonight?
Oh, I love
Uncle
it.
Lou Handman was his name.
Yeah, okay.
And so I was around music a lot, and there's something about it. Somebody once asked somebody, if you were going to lose one of your senses, what would be the best one, sight or sound? And in my opinion, to lose your hearing would be the worst,
Yeah.
in my opinion, because you can envision
Right.
something,
Right.
but to hear the music, and it's so inspirational, as
I
you
agree
know.
with you.
When you're singing, when you're actually singing, you get into it. I mean, you really think about the words, don't you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. I think I always have, just sort of naturally. But as I've been mentored here the last few years by people in town, it's really been drilled into me the importance of really getting married to that lyric. And there are even exercises that we do, and I teach my voice students to do the same thing when they get to the point where they're getting ready to perform out and sing out and whatnot. But you know, writing the lyric in your own hand and trying to kind of superimpose yourself as to, you know, why was this written in the first place? Where was this coming from? You know, and then a wonderful exercise is writing the lyric and leaving a couple spaces between each line. And I think you might know where I'm going with this. Underneath each lyric, writing for you your personal interpretation or understanding of what that means for you in your life or your experience. You'll never share that with anyone. You'll never sing that as a new lyric. But it kind of brings to the forefront of your mind and your heart what this could mean, what it does mean, and believe it or not, that is palpably noticeable to the audience when you are really connecting with that lyric and it's connecting with you. They may not know the backstory, and they don't need to know, but it's noticeable. And I think with any song that's as a good lyric, but especially the standards we're looking at, as we said, this is really good quality material. Connect with those words, connect with those lyrics, and allow yourself as an artist and a person to go there. And the audience will go with you.
That's wonderful. Some of the crooners, as the audience may know from past broadcasts, et cetera, Frank Sinatra Jr. and I were very close. It's hard to believe he's gone now, but a story about his father, as he said, the old man.
Yeah.
Tommy Dorsey, Frank Sinatra Sr. gave Tommy Dorsey the credit for learning how to phrase, do the phrasing, and to really care about what he was singing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons Sinatra got into our heads and our hearts so deeply, because whenever he was singing something, all of a sudden it put you in a different mood.
Right, yeah, yeah.
And I think he was the master, in my opinion.
Truly. Well, and I think he and Billie Holiday both really were so beautifully laid back and relaxed. They not only knew the lyric, they got into the lyric. I think they were really married to the lyric, but they didn't feel they needed to rush anything. There was no need to hurry up and get there. And I think that's kind of a rarity. So when we do get an artist who's really able to do that, like as they were, and that's something that I'm blessed with when I'm at the St. Paul Hotel. You know, Phil Aaron is one of the piano players that I work with very frequently. Rick Carlson as well, actually. They're both really masters of being laid back and just not rushing anything. And I think not only does it help us kind of set a nice tempo within ourselves as listeners, but it gives us the time to really, as listeners and as performers, to really get into that lyric. You know, just let it hang. Take your time getting through that phrase and really enjoy what's there, you know.
That's wonderful. You actually teach too, don't you?
I do. Yeah. I teach out of my home studio in South Minneapolis. I teach voice and classical flute as well. So, yeah.
And what age group?
All ages, actually. I go from beginners all the way up to, I think my most mature seasoned student is in her 60s. I teach novices, I teach competitors, particularly flute competitions and whatnot, and I have some professional musicians that I work with as well.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
How long have you been teaching?
I've been teaching all of my life.
Oh, wow.
I've been doing that since high school. So that's something that I've always been doing,
That's
which
wonderful.
I absolutely love teaching and mentoring.
That's marvelous.
It's so exciting, yeah.
Have any of the students gone on to big things?
I think they have kind of in their own areas. It's, you know, everyone is so mobile now. You know, you teach for a few years and they take off and they're gone. You know, they're off someplace else. But yeah.
That's good. What's the favorite for you, voice or instruments?
Yeah. That's hard to say. I think it's whichever one I happen to be doing at the time, you know, because it's music and I just love creating and I love the creative process. And I know for me too, it's such a sensory experience when I'm creating music, I think that's one of the reasons too that I don't mind practicing. I mean, I feel, you know, in my chest and in my arms and the back of my neck, you know, I get the chills and you get that energy and you get the endorphins and all that. So I'm just happy to be creating and making music no matter what I'm doing. I'm in bliss. I'm in my bliss.
You brought up something I think that the audience, with which the audience can identify, about what music does to you.
Yeah.
You can be in the most, well, I can anyway, be in the most horrible mood. And I have a thing that, God bless him, his name's Jonathan Blakely. He's the program director for news over at NPR. And Jonathan got me this thing where I can say, hey, Google, play me such and such.
Oh, yeah.
And so if I'm sitting at a computer and I'm really down, which happens sometimes, I can say, hey, Google, play me such and such.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it gets you, immediately transports you into a much better mood or much better frame of mind.
Yeah.
And it really makes you forget
It's true.
the bad stuff.
It's true. It's true, yeah. I love, I have so many musical crushes. I love actually an opera singer, Cecilia Bartoli. I think she's just wonderful, and her version of Caro Mio Ben just absolutely puts me over the moon. It stops me in my tracks every single time. I just love listening to that. But then a current love of mine is Cecile McLaurin Salvant. I don't know if you've listened to her yet. Oh, you need to. We need to sit down and listen to her together. She's just divine. She too is, she's a younger singer, but really takes from the old school singers we were talking about, who she doesn't gild the lily. She's worked on her instrument, has a beautiful voice, sings the beautiful songs beautifully, and just lets them be.
Sounds wonderful.
You know? Yeah, it's really good stuff.
Yeah. My favorite operatic singer was Lily Pont, who did the bell song from Lakme.
Yeah.
And my mother, God bless her in heaven, she, from the time I could even think, she instilled in me all these wonderful, not only classical artists, but the standard artists. And
It's wonderful.
I thank her for everything, absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I can't thank you enough for being here today,
thank you
and
for
hopefully
having me.
inspiring, and I'm sure you inspired people to pay more attention to music. And,
I hope so.
And hopefully they will see you at the St. Paul Hotel. Are you
Yes.
there every Saturday night?
Every Saturday night, September through April, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. They can go to my website, erinlivingstonsinger.com, to find out where I'll be around town, as well as at the St. Paul. I also have a series of holiday shows coming up at the Plymouth Playhouse, November and December. So, but go to my website and you can find all the information you need there.
That's wonderful. And shameless plug time. My book is on Amazon, has a lot of surprises in it, and things you wouldn't expect. Not only about weather forecasting, definitely not. A lot about show business and politics and everything else I've been blessed to enjoy. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next time.